Good morning. It's great to be in the house of the Lord today. It's grateful to be back. It's really a great comfort and knowledge that when I turn up poisoned the night before Sunday, that I can call on some very trustworthy men. So I want to thank Jim and Todd and Tyler for filling in for me on basically like about a 6-hour notice. So I really appreciate that. So it's very reassuring. So if you have lunch plans, don't go to Logan's. Just saying. I spent 5 days at home. Exodus 23. Pick back up here in Exodus. Exodus 23. And if you've seen the passage, no, I'm not going to read all those verses. It's a long section. If you don't mind, I'm going to put one of these in my mouth so that I can actually maintain my voice for a few minutes. Exodus chapter 23. It's at the end of the sundry laws. It's right before they begin to discuss the things that go into the tabernacle. And you have this very odd conversation here. And what it does is it pulls back around the beginning of this story in the book of Exodus. It goes all the way back and begins to reference what God tells Abraham back in Genesis chapter 15. And kind of pulls it all forward to where the folks kind of understand. And then it lays out some stuff, and it's got some cool stuff in it. I mean, there's this guy in here. He makes Rambo look like a sissy. It's great. And then you're going to see the people go, man, we love this. It's awesome. And then when we look right before the golden calf, how all that they've said really didn't dent. Look at Exodus chapter 23, starting in verse 20. Behold, I send an angel before you to guard you on your way, to bring you to a place which I have prepared. Paying careful attention to his voice, or to him, and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. But if you carefully obey his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. Great! Going to get this angel. Now, here's the thing. The debate is, what is this angel? Who is this angel? And since it has the weird caveat of my name is within him, it's clearly a reference that this angel is God himself. And so what do you get? What are these people getting in the initial state? They're getting a guardian who is with them. He is going to guide them to a place that they're prepared. Now, if you go back to Genesis chapter 15, you know the place is going to be in the land of the Canaanites, Hivites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and if you've got an "ite" at the end of your name, you're dying. And we pick this up here in a little bit. Notice the phraseology. Be careful to obey him, for he will not tolerate your transgressions. Carefully obey him, and he'll be an enemy to your enemies. He'll be an adversary to your adversaries. And when they're reading this or hearing this, they're like, yes! What we want! We want John Wick to come and just wipe the floor with our enemies. Where's the light? Got to come. It's not, no? No? Not John Wick? I got it on DVD. You come on down. We'll watch. Just as long as you don't kill his dog or take his car, you're fine. If you haven't seen, I'm not advocating watching that movie. You know, I'm giving you Arnold and Rambo. Don't make them mad. Right? Clint Eastwood. Don't make him go ahead. Make my day. If you obey, it's going to go great. Man, we read those and we go, man, that's stinking awesome. Whew, sign me up. When my angel goes before you, and brings you to the Amorites and to the Hivites and to the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, I will blot them out. The one who will do the killing will be God. And he's not going to make them go away. The phraseology is, I will blot them out. I will eradicate. And then there's this annoying clause. But we'll ignore it. I'll read it, but we'll ignore it. And you shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do as they do. But you shall utterly overthrow them and break their pillars in pieces. You shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and take away all your sickness away from you and among you, and none of you shall miscarry or be barren in the land, and I will fulfill the number of your days. Notice how they look. Man, they're looking at this great stuff. Because you know, just a few chapters later over, they're going to break every one of the conditions of this commandment. I will blot out the enemies. I will go before you, and all of these nations whose time has not come has now been fulfilled. And when I go, I will guide you. I will protect you. I will be an enemy to them. A few minutes later on, I will be a terror to them. And all you have to do is obey me. Don't worship their gods. Worship only me. Tie back to the first 10 commandments given. This is at the end of the sundry laws. And you will have good food, good water. You will have a health care plan better than Obamacare. You will not have miscarriages. You will not have any barren people. And you will live to be ripe, old people. Man, they love stuff like that. We love hearing stuff like that. Think about it. When we read passages like this, or we get in the New Testament, and we get these things, whoa, wow, this is so awesome. But what happens is we fail to read, and some people go with the fine print. It's not fine print. It's actually in the exact same font as all the other print. I don't know how we missed it. I mean, it's not like he's a used car salesman where he's got all the cool stuff, and down in the fine print is the crippling balloon payment. All right? It's in the exact same font. It's right there. And it's a condition to the covenant that's being made. And it's easy. No. It's not. And well, the 10 Commandments, this is what the rich young ruler tells Jesus, is it not? That's easy. I did those since I was a kid. Oh, you have you? Verse 27, I will send my terror before you and throw into confusion all the people against whom you shall come on. And I will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. I will send hornets before you. Now, that would be cool. Right? You got enemies and you're like going. And you just watch the hornets just. No? Nobody else didn't think that cool? I mean, I think that would be cool. I mean, I would have loved to have been on a convoy with air support being nothing but a swarm of hornets. No, okay. Maybe it's just me. I will drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites, the Hittites before you. I will not drive them out before you in 1 year. Now he gives a time frame. You know, why didn't he do it all at one time? Well, God's such a wise guy. He's so smart. He'll tell you. But I'll do it little by little before you until you have increased to possess the land. So it will not be overgrown and become desolate. Notice the land grant he gives them. I will set your border from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, from the wilderness to the Euphrates. I will give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before me. You shall make no covenant with them. They didn't do that. Remember Joshua? You shall not dwell, they shall not dwell in your land. Oh, sorry, wait a second. You shall make no covenant with them and their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. The land I will give you is from the Suez, along the Mediterranean, up into modern-day Turkey, over into Iraq, down through Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Yemen. I will give this to you. And I will give it to you in such a way that slowly over time you will possess the land and it will be yours. And I will go before you and I will wipe out every single inhabitant of the land. All you must do is dwell there. And the one caveat that is given is obedience. Obey me. Don't worship their gods, worship only me. Don't make covenants with their gods, only me. Do not allow them to stay in the land because they will turn their hearts or your hearts from me towards their gods. Obedience is the sole caveat to this covenant that they make. And we all know, if you have been here during the 1st and 2nd Samuel Bible study, these cats can't do it. They just can't. In about 4 chapters, they're really going to screw it up. They're going to sit and they're going to make a golden calf. And Moses is going to take that golden calf and he's going to grind it up and make a savory drink for them to have to where they have to drink it. I can't do it. It's not possible. It's not impossible. Let's keep on. Let's look at 24. And I dropped my cap. Starting in 3. Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and the rules. Gave them the 10 Commandments. Gave them the sundry laws. Told it to the folks. And this is the response of the people. And all the people answered with one voice, meaning in unison. Not a dissenting vote. Not a single person going, well, I don't know. Those hornets are pretty cool, but I don't think I can do this. All the words that the Lord has spoken, we will do. Everything that you have said, we will do. We will obey the angel. We will go and we will do and execute what he says. We will not grieve him, except for about 3 chapters later. And then you're going to want to destroy all of us. Yes. We come to passages like these and we do the same thing. And at times there's no real malicious intent. We really do mean it. I mean, we get in here and we sing songs like, all to Jesus, I surrender. But then we want to do a caveat on what the all means. Kind of like Bill Clinton and the word is. What does is really mean? We sing contemporary songs, all I have is yours. And we don't realize we're just flat out lying. Because all means all. And yours means yours. And when the rubber meets the road, are we giving our all? And is it the Lord's? Or do we behave as though it's ours? And we parcel it out as we see fit. We see this text, we hear the word, we've listened to the 10 Commandments, and yes, we will do it. Not even a hesitation. All of them together, not a dissenting voice. Yep, we'll do it. Because we get cool stuff. We get this angel. He's going to wipe the floor with our enemies. I have the best of intentions at this moment. I don't detect anywhere in the text that there is a malicious statement here, but you have before you the frailty of humanity in what it is. We can profess a following of Christ in one moment and turn around and then do something absolutely wickedly abhorrent. And here's the thing. We usually set it up on this dire scale of, oh, we're either knocking it out of the park or, oh, it's so horribly bad. I'm over here destroying and killing puppies. We're doing something really good for God. And then we're doing something as simple as malicious slander that no one else knows or is between other folks. We're doing something really great for God, or I'm intentionally withholding a tithe because I was offended by somebody. I'm knocking it out of the park over here, or I quit working in the church because, well, a parent told me something and I just didn't like it, so I quit. See, it doesn't take much. And we want to put that on this large scale of from here to here. Well, actually, there's just this really sometimes this very small degree between obedience and non-compliance. And that's the thing, is it isn't, well, God looks at it and only counts the big stuff. Failure to follow the law at any point is failure to follow and is disobedience. You say, well, that's an Old Testament law. Great. Well, then you've got a problem when Jesus says all the law is summed up in these two passages. What were they? You shall love the Lord your God with all. Pesky word, all. Your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And you are to love your neighbor as. It is impossible to be a selfish Christian. It's impossible. Oh, you can claim to be a Christian and you can be selfish. Do you notice the difference? You can claim to be, I claim to be a cheeseburger. You'd probably want to get me locked up. You make a lot of claims, but the actions back up the claim that you make. Here, all you have said we will do. We do this. And see, this goes back to the validity of one's own word. And during the election cycle, I wrote an article in the church paper about when Ted Cruz had broke his promise. You say, well, he should have broke his promise because, well, the guy in charge is not a great guy. Great. Find that for me in the text. I dare you. You won't. The text is very clear about when you give and take an oath. Jesus simplifies it very simply. If you've said yes, do it. If you said no, you're off the hook. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything beyond that is sin. Period. Did he say he would do it? Yep. He's stuck. Like a rat on a trap. This is why the ethic of Christianity is so much higher and a such higher standard because of who indwells us than simply the world's ethic. And we read passages like this, and we'll read passages when we get to Luke and Acts, we will see that there's a lot more to it than just strictly the following of the nuance of the law, but a much greater fulfillment. And we go, yes, and turn around and go, no. You read Acts, the New Testament church had no concept of personal ownership of property once they were saved. When they said all of it was the Lord's, all of it was the Lord's. This is what gets Ananias and Sapphira killed. It's not that they got killed because, well, God could get by with what we gave him. They got killed because they presented to the Lord saying, we gave all. We gave all. And they hadn't given all. See, the first century church, if it were to look at the church today, would really be baffled about our behavior. I'll give you a great example. I buy what is it, 4K? 4K, is that the new TV? I buy a 4K TV, and I put it in my house, and I give the church my square Curtis Mathis wooden one. And there'll be some people in the room going, yeah, what's the problem with that? Okay. In the first century church, they would have bought the 4K TV and given it to the church and maintained their Curtis Mathis. Why? Because of the principle of first fruits. Well, I don't know about that principle. Perhaps you should look that up. And we look at our way we do things and be baffled at how some of this stuff would go. Well, I go, but I'm not going to help because, well, it's just too much. We've replaced the God of our life, of which the text here, and when we sing hymns and affirm that everything we have is the Lord's, we replace the Lord of our life with the Lord of convenience and the Lord of time and the Lord of money and the Lord of, and we go down the list. And we come in here and we will go, yes, all of this and more. All I have is yours, Lord, except, and then we add the caveat. If everything was the Lord's, Joyce would not have to beg for workers to help in Awana. We would be beating you off with a stick. Children's church, flooded with workers. Sunday school, go down the list. Short on tithes and offerings for a little bit of the year. Not if all of it was all. But see, there's a belief that some of it is yours. You do understand that all that you get comes from the hand of God Almighty. Amen. It's His. He gives it to you. And then it's yours to return back as a portion. And we forget that. But we will come in here and we will profess that all is the Lord's. They do the same thing. They're going to fall into the exact same. And see, when we look at them, it's very easy to look at them and go, man, these are nut jobs. Do they not know that in 3 chapters later they're going to break this command? Do you not know we are nut jobs? There are times I have asked God to forgive me of something I've done, 30 minutes later to be doing it again. I swear I have brain damage. God's looking at there and go, that boy just ain't right. I knew I'd get an amen on that one. Lest you think I'm knocking it out of the park. Look, there are days when I go, Lord, help me with, and it's find myself back in that same mess. If I had a guardian angel, if I believed in such, he would have broad shoulders and a flat forehead. And so lest we think that there's any one of us in here that are knocking it out imperfect. I tell you, I'm not. Look, it's a lot easier to look at that tithe and go, well, there are a lot of homeless firearms. Gander Mountain. They're not ready to deal yet, folks. Don't get your hopes up yet. They're not there yet. They're not. They still think that there's value in those things. But there'll soon be a lot of homeless firearms that need a good, loving home. And I'm only providing a service out of love. Some people adopt kids. I adopt firearms. I think it all works out the same. They both give. They both take. They both consume. It's all the same. It'd be real easy to take that money and go, which is why she runs the money. Seriously, that's why she runs the money. Because I know my proclivities towards that. Why? Because, look, and deep down, there is a strain of selfishness within us all. We want what we want. Now, in moments of spiritual activity, we will profess all of it as yours, but if I were to sit and map out my life, how much of my life is actually God's? How much of it goes to the TV? And this is me. How much of it goes to sitting in my chair watching the TV watch me sleep? How much of it goes to doing things other than the pursuit of a holy and loving God? And I'll profess to you, yes, all of my time is the Lord's. And then I start to chart it. And I've got to ask myself, do I really hold to this all concept? Or do I add a caveat like, well, God, I need a break. I like you. You're a great guy. You've got hornets that'll go before and kill my enemies. Let's be careful. You don't be my enemy. A hornet. No, I'm kidding. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. But this cool stuff I get. And the provision is that I honor and follow you and obey your laws and commands. And do I really do that? Let's keep going on. Gets a little bit more interesting here. Moses wrote down all the words of the Lord. He rose early in the morning. He built an altar at the foot of the mountain, 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. He set young men of the people of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrifices and placed offerings of oxen to the Lord. Moses took half the blood, put it in a basin. Half the blood he threw against the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do.